Welcome to the March 19th council meeting. If you'd please stand, we have a very special flag salute being led this evening by Troop 202. I'd like to call up Troop 202 and Senior Patrol Leader Logan LeBlanc.
All right, just really quick, just thank you for having us do the opening ceremony. We are really appreciated that we were called upon to do this for you guys. So, all May attendant and everyone in attendance, please rise if you haven't risen already. And all in attendance, please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you very much. Logan, would you like to introduce your troop?
Yes. This is Troop 202. We run off of the Chino, or we run out of the Chino United Methodist Church. That is our meeting area for just our troop in general. These are some of our glorious scouts from our troop. So recently we just went on a camp out where they can go to a place called NYLT, or National Youth Leadership Training, which is basically where they can learn how to be young leaders. So in all, our troop has been in operation since 1945, and during that time we have had over 120 Eagle Scouts emerge from our troop. So we're just in that very active troop, and
Would you like to introduce the boys and your troop leader?
Sure. I'm, as you know, Logan LeBlanc. I am SPO, or Senior Patrol Leader of the entire troop. I'm basically the one leading the troop and telling the troop what they're going to be doing and how they're going to be doing it, and ensuring that they have fun during those times. So just introduce yourself, names.
I'm Damon Sari.
I'm Zeke Reyes of the Time Traveling Pancakes Patrol.
I'm David Hunter Ballard.
I'm Aiden Flores.
I'm Maxine Byrne.
I'm Drew Ballard.
I'm Kenneth Kim.
And I'm Austin LeBlanc.
Okay, and your troop leaders. Yes.
I'm Scoutmaster David Ballard.
I'm Assistant Scoutmaster Tony Flores. Thank you. Thank you, Mayor.
You're welcome. Thank you very much for being with us this evening. Let's give them a hand. Thank you, boys. Okay, thank you very much. Thank you. You can go.
Quickly.
Yes.
Sorry.
Don't, it's okay.
We just wanted to do the Scout Oath and the Scout Law.
Oh,
so
okay.
quickly is
Go
that.
ahead.
So we have Scout signs for everyone who has been in Scouts. So please join me in the Scout Oath and Scout Law. On my honor, I will do my best to do my duty to God and my country, and to obey the Scout Law, to help other people at all times, to keep myself physically strong, mentally awake, and morally straight. A Scout is trustworthy, loyal, helpful, friendly, courteous, kind, obedient, cheerful, thrifty, brave, clean, and reverent. Thank you.
Excellent. Thank you very much. Wait, did you get a picture? Okay, next we have recognition of Grandma's House Arredondo Family Daycare's published book. I'd like to call up Lou Arredondo and Friends Around the World book authors. Today we have the pleasure of recognizing an extraordinary achievement from Grandma's House, Arredondo Family Child Care. Through their innovative program, now in its second year, young authors and illustrators have published Friends Around the World, a book that symbolizes the power of literacy and global friendship, published on January 30th, 2024. This project not only enhances reading and writing skills, but also prepares our children for future academic and professional endeavors by adding published works to their resumes. I commend the children, the staff at Grandma's House, and all who supported this initiative for their creativity and dedication to education, to the young authors and illustrators receiving certificates today. Congratulations on this remarkable achievement. Now we're going to pass out some certificates. Madeline Brisciano? Brisino? Brisino, I'm sorry. There you go. Say thank you. George Hunter Brisino? There you go. And Charlie Brisino. Where's Charlie? Oh, that's Charlie. Okay. Wyatt Fornaca and Liberty Fornaca. And then there's one for Riley Van Gundry, but that person, she's absent. Dylan Brian McGrain. Norma Santi Munoz. Camilla Munoz. Jericho Perez is absent. Joy Tadian? You're welcome. Joshua Bear Tadian. And Emma Vasquez, her illustrator. Tell us a little bit about it.
Okay. So we started the book last year as a way to promote reading and writing because it's so important as we get older and it's important in our success in life. And so we researched places that we could go to get a book actually published. Like, what's the point of writing a book if it's not published? And so once it was published, then we reached out to the local libraries and said, we have a published book. Would you be willing to put it in the library? And we were really happy because the Chino Library connected us to the archives with the state of California, and the archives wants a copy every year. So when these kids graduate, they'll be able to put on their resume that they're published authors. So, and I would be remiss, where's Curtis? I would be remiss, the reason we started this is because of Curtis. He read a book at the community garden and said, you will someday be authors and writers. So we said, let's start today. So this is your copy, Curtis.
Well, thank you very much. I appreciate that.
Thank you.
Excellent. Let's give them a hand. Okay. Now we need to gather you up a little bit so you can all get in the picture. Here, come this way a little bit. What a nice idea. Oops, more. Thank you for being here. Oh, you're welcome. You're welcome. And congratulations to all of you.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you for being here this evening. You're welcome. Next, I'd like to call up Carrie Franco, our Community Services Parks Recreation Supervisor. We're going to be recognizing the Chino Days Art and Writing Contest winners.
Good evening, everyone. I am here today because I have some art and writing contestants that competed for Chino Days, and we would like to recognize our winners tonight. Sure, I'd love to. Okay, can I please have third place winner for art category 5 to 7, Destiny Shin. For art category 5 to 7, second place winner, Camus Quo. And for age 5 to 7, first place, Luminous Flores. For our 8 to 10 category, third place winner, London Hammersley. Our second place 8 to 10 was not able to be here, but that was Joanna Davis. And our first place, 8 to 10, is Noah Voilis. Forgive me if I said that wrong. For our art category, 11 to 13 years old, our third place, also not able to be here, is Jade Barella. Our second place, not able to be here, Kangmin Kim. And our first place, 11 to 13, Talia Plackle. Please join us. We also had art category 14 to 17-year-old. First place was Lena Chang, not able to be here. And our writing category, age or grade 7 to 9th, first place, was Aaron Tovar. He's not able to be here either. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. And here, I'll give you these to pass to them. Okay, she's going to get a picture of all of you. Stay up here. Okay, thank you very much. Good job. Okay, then I'll announce that SBCTA is coming out. Next, we're going to have a presentation regarding San Bernardino County Transportation Authority, their 60 freeway construction update. Hi, Jen. You're going to be helping, and the presentation will be by Paul you say it.
Yes. Thank you, Mayor. Thank you. Good evening, Mayor and Council. I want to introduce our special guest from SBCTA. His name is Paul Melakotan, and he's a project manager who has been with the project since 1917 and 1918 at the conception of the project. And he was, 2017. Well, you have aged very well, Paul.
My gosh, Jen. You've aged very nicely.
Yeah, and he is also responsible for project delivery, such as our 60 freeway project to completion. So here's Paul.
1917.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. Again, as Hygen said, my name is Paul Mologatan. I'm a project manager for SBCTA, and thank you so much for having us here. We're very excited to just do a very brief presentation, status update on the project. Doesn't seem to stay up. So I'll be talking about what we've completed, what's ongoing today, and the work that's upcoming. So just for reference, this project is located on Central Avenue, just north of here at 60 Central. And this project was designed, and the purpose of the project actually is to address future forecasted congestion on Central Avenue. And it's because of the bottleneck at the ramps, the on-ramps. The old on-ramps only had one lane, so this project increased that to 2 general-purpose lanes and a carpool lane. And also, we widened the bridge about 30 feet on each side, added an extra left turn lane going to the on-ramps. And I'm happy to say the project's almost completed. In fact, Mayor, the SBCTA staff and city staff were planning a groundbreaking coming up. We want to showcase this beautiful interchange. I keep saying this is one of the best looking interchanges in the county. So definitely it's a culmination of partnership between the city and SBCTA. There was a lot of work put together. So anyway, work completed. The bridge widening has been completed. The construction of the bridge barrier, or the bridge walls, You can see it has the pilasters, and we're going to have big city logo in the middle of the pilaster at the showcase. Like I said, the interchange, people traveling on the 60, and also you can see it from Central Avenue. It's a nice gateway for the city. The ramp widening was completed. Like I mentioned, we went from 1 lane to now it's 3 lanes. It's 2 general purpose lanes and a carpool lane. The retaining walls, we have the nice graphic with the plane and the showcasing the history of the city with the agricultural and the tractor. Installation of signal poles, slope paving, the irrigation's all done on the gore areas, and the landscape planting's all done. So you'll see plants out there. They're still small plants, but eventually they'll of course flourish and grow. It'll look really nice. Just a quick sort of, it says landscape concept, but it's not a concept anymore. It's actually out there. It's reality. So this is what it looks like. It was a combination of keeping some of the existing eucalyptus trees that's been out there, combination of drought-tolerant planting. But we also have a lot of hardscape. This is to preserve water, some rock mulch, and some wood mulch. And like I said, all the aesthetics you see out there, the landscaping, it's really a product of a partnership between SBCTA and the city. And by the way, there was a really good active citizen participation. We took this to the Chino Citizen Ad Hoc Committee workshops. We rolled up our sleeves, came up with some really good ideas, and like I said, you can see it out there now. And so some of the ongoing work, we're completing the landscape hardscape. Like I mentioned, it's some rock mulch and some wood mulch. Then in March of this year, we're actually going to launch a 1-year plant establishment period. The contractor is going to be responsible for maintaining the plants for about a year. We have some final striping, final ADA inspection, making sure that all our pedestrian pathways, curb ramps, they meet ADA requirements. And final bridge details, like I said, we're going to have the medallion up on the bridge. And then the bridge fence that you see out there right now is not colored. That's going to be colored black to go with some of the acorn lighting that you see. And then future work after the 1-year plan establishment period, we're also going to do a 4-year landscape maintenance period to make sure that the plants are fully established, and then Caltrans will take over the maintenance of the gore areas in perpetuity.
That's when they die.
And just a quick schedule, like I said, the 1-year plant establishment is going to start March of this year. 2025, that's going to end, and then we're going to start the landscape maintenance period for 4 years. It's going to complete in March 2029. And then just a quick snapshot of the project cost. Our project was $30 million for construction. And by the way, just want to highlight, right before we got into construction, we were able to capture $8.6 million of state grant funding. So reduced the city share with over $4 million. So it was definitely a nice surprise for us. So that concludes my presentation.
Thank you very much.
Have any
Paul.
questions?
Any questions of Paul? Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
We made it a long time for this. So
Yes, for sure.
we're really anxious and excited about it.
It's very beautiful.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Okay, we did have a closed session prior to the council meeting starting. And I would like to ask our attorney to provide us a report out of that meeting.
Thank you, Mayor, members of the council, and all those present. The City Council met in closed session as announced by the mayor and held a discussion as to the single item listed on the closed session portion of the agenda, namely conference with legal counsel, the existing litigation matter of Chino Basin Municipal Water District versus City of Chino and additional parties. City Council heard an update from attorneys Jimmy Gutierrez and Michael Colantuno, and no further reportable action was taken. Thank you.
Thank you. City Manager Wright, do we have any agenda additions or revisions?
No changes, Mayor.
Thank you. Next, we have public announcements. Join us as we celebrate health, wellness, and nutrition at the annual Healthy Family Day, now teaming up with the previously weather-postponed Bark Around the Park. This special dual event will be held Saturday, April 6th from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. at Ayala Park. This day is dedicated to promoting a healthy lifestyle for all family members, including pets, with activities ranging from fitness demonstrations, fun family competitions, to activities for kids and a superhero meet and greet. For more details, please visit us at cityofchino.org/HFD. Rev up your engines and mark your calendars for the annual Corn Feed Run Car Show and Cruise, happening on Saturday, April 27th from 8 a.m. to 3 p.m. at City Hall. Presented by the Chino Kiwanis Club, this event promises a spectacular showcase of hundreds of classic cars and trucks cruising through a 13-block route. Enjoy the sights and sounds with live DJ music and explore local vendors for unique finds. Don't miss this exciting event. For more information, please visit chinokiwanis.com. City of Chino, in partnership with Waste Management, invites all Chino residents to take part in the free residential community cleanup on Saturday, April 13th from 8 a.m. to 1 p.m. at 13793 Redwood Street. This is a great opportunity to declutter your home and dispose of furniture, appliances, electronics, green waste, and more. Please bring proof of residency, your California ID and City of Chino utility bill. Be prepared to unload your items and note that hazardous waste is not acceptable at this site. For further details, please call 1-800-423-9986. Next on the agenda is public communications. This is the time and the place for the general public to address the council on items that do not appear elsewhere on the agenda. You will have no more than 5 minutes to speak. We have a couple of written requests to speak to start off with. I have Pastor Don Porter from Cross Point Church. He's going to lead us in an invocation. I invite all those who would like to participate to please stand.
Thank you. Let's pray together. Our Father, we thank you for the many things we have already celebrated tonight. The health of our community reflected in the children that were here and their accomplishments, and the joy of celebrating with them. We thank you for all that you are doing in this city. We thank you for the safety that we enjoy, the security that we enjoy. We thank you, Lord, for our mayor and our council members and every person that serves our city in the city council. Father, we also want to say thank you for our fire department, for our police force. We thank you for our teachers, for our administrators, so many people who serve our city, that we might live in a city that is healthy, that is growing, that is stable, that is secure. Lord, we don't take that for granted. And Lord, tonight, as we gather together, we remember your words that come from Colossians 3:17, that whatever we do in word or in deed, that we would do it in the name of Jesus, that our words and our attitudes and our actions, our inactions, everything that we do, our motivations, would be consistent with the character of Jesus. Lord, to do that, we know that we need the power of your Spirit working in us and through us. Lord, we pray that you would give clarity of thought and mind to all who will address this board tonight. And we pray, Lord, that all of us would listen, that we would listen intently and carefully to the things that are said. And Lord, may we honor you by honoring one another tonight. We thank you for this great city. We thank you, Lord, that you are a great and mighty God. In the name of Jesus we pray. Amen.
Amen.
Thank you.
Don. Next written request to speak does not have a name, but it's Don Lugo Sports Boosters Golf Fundraiser. He didn't write his name down. Richard, you're supposed to put your name down.
Hello, Mayor, City Council. We wanted to come tonight and share about our fundraiser that we're having. We represent the Don Lugo Sports Boosters. It's our Vice President, and he's in charge of our Golf Committee, Frankie Peck. And we brought some flyers, but we also wanted to share about our flyers on our social media, which is Don Lugo Sports Boosters. You find it on Instagram and then on Facebook also. But the purpose of our fundraisers is to enhance all of the sports at Don Lugo High School, from tennis to golf to football to baseball to girls softball, water polo. So all of our funds go straight towards all these sports programs and to enhance everything that, or things that they need besides things that they get from the school or from the school board. So I'll let Frankie speak, and I'm gonna stay up here just in case it goes too long. I'll pull on the shirt. Right?
Hey, thank you for allowing us to speak tonight, distinguished council members. My name is Frankie Peck, and you know, you guys know Richard very well, and he can get you to do anything, especially if it's to help other people. This guy does a lot for the community. So it's my privilege to be able to work with him and help him in the Don Lugo Sports Boosters. My kids are supposed to go to Chino, but when Richard's like, hey, let's take our kids to a school where we can make a difference, and so we decided to take our kids to Don Lugo. We do have a great volunteer committee on our, as far as the parents are concerned. We have probably the best kids in the city of Chino that go to Don Lugo. Unfortunately, except for Curtis's kid goes to Chino Hills, but he's a alumni, so he's helping us out. So that's how good people we are. We have great people like Curtis helping us out. So we do a lot of work. We're trying hard. I don't know if you guys know this. Chino Hills football, each kid has to pay $1,000 just to play. They don't have to, but they do. Our kids can't afford that. You know, they're underprivileged. I think our kids play $200 for the football program. So we're already at a disadvantage as far as coaching, materials, equipment, money. But we're not, well, yeah, no, we are asking for free money, just to put that straight. We are asking for some free money. But what we're doing is we're willing to work hard. We're willing to put ourselves out there. We do car shows. Right now we have a big golf tournament coming on board. We're looking for some help. We're looking for a partnership. We're looking for sponsorships. I don't know if the city of Chino can sponsor a hole, the police department, the fire department, but we're looking for help, and we're looking to help support these kids. I'll give you an example. We just bought our pole vaulters can't do pole vaulting because their pole's brittle. So we just spent $1,000 buying them a brand new pole for pole vaulting so the kids can do pole vaulting. There's 3 kids that want to do pole vaulting. So things like that, balls, tennis balls. Huh? One pole is $1,000. It was one pole, and luckily for us, it was to fit, you know, a majority of the kids. There was another kid that wanted to do pole vaulting. He was a little heavier, but his pole is like $1,500. So we couldn't afford to do both. So, but we're looking to try to build this program up under Richard's leadership. I'm here to support him. We have great other parents as well, and so if you can, here's our flyers. If we could put them out there, if we could put it up on the board here. Like I said, we're willing to work. We're willing to put ourselves out there. We're willing to spend the time, and we're just looking for a partnership with you guys.
So tell us again, for the audience and for those watching on TV, how do they get in touch with your program?
Great question. So we do have an email address. It's donlugosportsboosters@gmail.com. But there's also a phone number, and it's Michael Gonzalez. It's 909-573-2599. Currently, we have about we think we'll have about 60 players from an organization we're working with.
Mike Gonzalez?
Mike Gonzalez.
Okay.
So we think that we've got about 60 so far signed up. We're looking to do 144. With 144 people signing up for golf, we'll raise about $10,000. So that's not including the raffles. And that goes directly to the kids.
Well, I see a representative from the police association standing against the wall. You might want to give a flyer to Aaron.
We want to partner with you for sure. Members of the community, we want to partner. We just need the support. We just need the help. You know, we're excited to do it.
When is your tournament?
April 20th. It'll be at Whispering Lakes Golf Course. It'll be at 8 a.m. check-in, and 10 a.m. will be the time, the tee-off time.
Okay.
144 is our goal. Like I said, we got about 60 so far. And we appreciate the opportunity to come over here and talk. And we've been talking to some of you already. Mr. Flores has been helping us out quite a bit too. And like I said, I appreciate Richard bringing me on board. It's been a lot of work, but this guy right here's got the heart of gold, man. He can get me to do anything because he does it for the community and the kids. So. True. You guys all know that, right? Stop it.
We do.
It's all about the kids. Thank you for allowing us to share.
Well, thank you for being
We can leave the flyers, I don't know where, but.
Yeah, give them to our city clerk.
Thank you very much. Appreciate your time.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, City Council.
Okay, those are the two written requests that I have to speak. Is there anyone in the audience that would like to address the council on an item that is not on the agenda?
Hello, Mayor and council members. My name is Michael Gales, and it's a definitely privilege for it to be here tonight. And thank you, Chino Police Department, for your great commitment of serving the city. And thank you, Chief, too. Thank you. It been brought to my attention as I get up. I live on Riverside on 5819, and it been brought to my attention, and I always see the fire department going back and forth. And one of the things that I really observed that the residents is not pulling over to the right. And I say, wow, that's not good. That's not good. I was in Pomona, I guess the other day, and I seen the police department had to stop at a red light because the cars would not pull over, and he waited for like 45 seconds. And I said, that's a long time. These cars is not pulling over to the right. So what I ask from a fully heart that pull over to the right. That's all it takes. To pull over to the right, even for the police department too. Pull over to the right because it's obvious that they're going for an emergency, and it can be a life at stake. And I guess to bring to you guys' attention, about a couple of years ago, I was the guy who saved the girl's life on the Riverside when she split her whole arm. And I got there before everybody, and the Chino police said, how'd you get here before us? I say, I pay attention. I pay attention to my surrounding. And I actually closed her whole arm up, and they took her on down to the police, to the medical room. And thank you guys for really serving the community. Much appreciated. Another thing, I had brought my kids to Ayala Park on Sunday, and I observed the skate park. And somebody actually unscrewed the gate, and it flaps off. They can go under it at nighttime and ride skateboards. And I said, okay, let me bring that to the city attention and everything. And it's very not good because somebody can get hurt. Then they cut all the lights off too. So I said, okay, so they sneaking in there, obvious, and everything. So I already let the public know too and everything. And thank you for letting me get up here and speak. Appreciate it, Mayor and council members. Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you for being here, Michael. Anyone else have anything to say to us that does not pertain to our current agenda? Okay, seeing none, we're going to move on. Next item on the agenda is the consent calendar. Do any council members wish to have any items pulled for discussion? Okay, seeing none, then I would entertain a motion and a second to approve it. Motion from Councilman Lucio, second from Mayor Pro Tem Comstock. Please vote. Item passes unanimously. Under public hearing, we have item number 10, Assembly Bill 481, Funding, Acquisition, and Use Policy. The recommendation is to adopt ordinance number 2024-006, approving the Chino Police Department's military equipment use policy. I'd like to declare the public hearing open and then request a staff report from Chino Police Lieutenant Aaron Kelleher and Chief Kevin Menson.
Good afternoon, Mayor, members of the City Council. The item before you tonight is an introduction of an ordinance to approve the Chino Police Department's military equipment funding, acquisition, and use policy pursuant to the provisions of California Assembly Bill 481. A little background on this bill. In 2022, the legislature started requiring departments to declare what quote-unquote military equipment policy are the items they possessed, and then present to their governing body which items they had, their policies, and their use purposes. And that has to be adopted on an annual basis. We did it in 2022. We did it in 23, and we're back here again for our third time in 2024 to present to the council the current state of the military equipment and use policy. Go to the next slide. So the requirements of AB 481 require us to have the military equipment use policy with the approval. We've done that, like we said, for the last 2 years. It does also require us to have a written policy. This was nothing new. All of the equipment that we use has a written policy. We don't deploy stuff without a written policy to begin with, but because it is required under 481, we do have a specific policy. It's Lexipol Policy Section 708, and that's open to the public. Anybody can find our policy online on our website, so this is nothing new. Publishing a draft military equipment use policy is required on our website, and once again, this policy has been published, continues to be published, and will continue to be published, including a report each type of year on the type of military equipment that we utilize and that are approved for use. And then it also requires us to hold one well-publicized and conveniently located community engagement meeting within 30 days of submitting the annual equipment report. We held this meeting last Thursday at the Chino Police Department. About 6 of our community members attended, and there was no concerns. There was no issues with any of the equipment that we presented at that meeting. So we have met with the requirements of AB 481 to date. A couple of things we want the council and the public to know about AB 481. First and foremost is the Chino Police Department does not possess and does not participate in the 1033 program. The 1033 program is a federal program that surpluses Department of Defense equipment to make available to local public safety agencies. We don't participate in that program. We don't possess any of the surplus military equipment. And more to the point, AB 481 is extremely misleading, almost to the point of being disingenuous in the term military equipment. That's why we see it in quotes throughout our presentation. They define a lot of things that aren't military equipment as military equipment, therefore requiring us to identify it. And so we do comply with it, but we don't use any equipment obtained for the military. Everything that we utilize is commercial off the shelf. And these tools, more importantly, are not utilized in any offensive way. They're simply there to de-escalate situations, to help us, provide us the tactical tools we need to gain space, to really resolve conflict without any type of intervention. It keeps us safe, and it keeps our community members safe, and that's why we utilize it. So it is a preservation of human life tool, and that's why we utilize these items. To cover the type of items that we have, and just a quick summary without going through the exhaustive list, we have vehicles that meet the requirements under AB 481. So some of you might be shocked to know that our mobile command center, which is basically a converted recreational vehicle, meets the definition of military equipment under AB 481. So we do have a mobile command center that we utilize. Our tactical response vehicle, which is a Chevy Suburban that simply has an equipment rack in the back. We have that. That meets the definition under AB 481. Our armored rescue vehicle, often called our Bearcat, is also identified under AB 481 as military equipment. Once again, not from the military. It's made by a company in Boston called Lenco. We have a SWAT equipment vehicle that meets the definition that simply carries SWAT equipment to and from scenes. And the same thing with our CNT, which is our crisis negotiations team. They have an equipment vehicle that allows them to negotiate and also deploy crisis negotiation equipment out of. So those are the vehicles which meet the AB 481 definition. Under the equipment side of it, we have a number of equipment that meets the definition. For instance, unmanned aircraft systems, commonly known as drones. We've deployed drones for a number of years. The drones we have are commercial off the shelf. Any 13-year-old go out and buy them and fly them. So although our pilots are required to be FAA certified, so there's a significant difference, but these are not military equipment drones. We have a number of less lethal launchers that meet the requirement. For instance, the pepper ball guns is another good one to talk about. A pepper ball gun is simply a paintball launcher. It's been modified to fire pepper ball rounds with compressed air, which have a PAVA powder in them, but that's qualified as military equipment under 481. We utilize 40 millimeter less lethal launchers. Those are the big tube launchers. And we utilize sponge rounds out of those that look like a racquetball that go out, as well as some marking rounds and chemical agents. We have a number of diversionary devices. Those are commonly called flashbangs that we utilize, and also explosive breaching tools. Those are diversionary and for us a way to get into places that we need to get into. And we have a long-range acoustical device, often called the LRAD, which is just a giant speaker and microphone that allows us to address crowds and also barricaded subjects from a safe distance away. Those of you who have heard the LRAD know it's extremely loud, but it's basically a loud hailer. It's what we use it for. We have a number of tactical robots, both tracked and wheeled. None of them are armed. And then we have rifles, which meet the requirement under 481. We've had those rifles for a number of years. They're patrol rifles. They're not specialized rifles. They're simply AR-15 rifles. And then the rifles used by the SWAT team. So in summary, that's the listing of the equipment that we have. And once again, we want to just point out that these tools are not military equipment by any stretch of the imagination, but they do meet the definition under AB 481. So we have to obviously identify them and bring them forward. All of these tools have policies attached to them, and once again, those policies are available on our website for review at any time. With that, I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Okay. Any questions of Aaron this evening? Is there anyone in the audience that would like to make any comments or ask questions? Okay, seeing none, then I will close the public hearing and ask for a motion and second, please. Motion from Mayor Pro Tem Comstock, second from Councilman Flores. Please vote.
If I may read the
Oh, sorry.
title
Oh,
before you read the results of the vote. Thank you, Mayor. The item before the council is the approval of the introduction of ordinance number 2024-006. And that is entitled An Ordinance of the City Council of the City of Chino, California, approving the updated Chino Police Department's military equipment use policy. And that is being read by title only and waiving further reading. Thank you.
okay, please vote. Item passes unanimously. Item number 11, introduction of ordinance number 2024-004, Z0APL 23-0119. Conduct a public hearing and approve the introduction of the ordinance to be read by number and title only and waive further reading. I'd like to declare the public hearing open, ask for a staff report from Mr. Michael Hitz, our principal planner, and Warren Morellian, Director of Development Services.
Good evening, Mayor and council members. So staff is proposing, let me get to the slide here. Staff is proposing amendments to Title 20, the zoning code of the Chino Municipal Code. This proposed change consists of modifications to Chapter 20.08, Agricultural, Open Space, and Public Zoning Districts, and Chapter 20.24 is the glossary, to allow for temporary commercial recreation facilities to be permitted in the general agricultural, AG, and open space natural OS2 zoning districts with the approval of a special conditional use permit. And also amendments to Title 16, the sign code of the Chino Municipal Code, is also proposed to exempt certain signs on city properties from sign regulations. At the February 21st, 2024 Planning Commission meeting, the commission held a public hearing and with a vote of 7-0, recommended approval of these amendments to the City Council. The draft ordinance is included in your packet that shows the new and/or move text that are highlighted in red. Amendments to the zoning code is being proposed to allow for more recreational opportunities in the city's open space areas on a temporary basis, subject to approval by the city. Many of the cities allow these type of commercial recreation facilities, such as venues for live entertainment, outdoor festivals, large outdoor inflatable theme parks, obstacle courses, on a temporary basis, mostly during the summer months. Currently, these types of uses are not listed in Chapter 20.08 of the zoning code as an allowed use, meaning the city has no mechanism to approve these types of recreation operations. One of the goals and policies and objectives of identifying the city's general plan is to provide a wide range of recreational opportunities in Chino that will meet the changing needs of the city. The policies of that goal states that the city shall support and expand public activities and resources that enhance the city's small town fields, such as cultural events, streets, fairs, parades, farmers markets, and outdoor concerts. And the city shall provide recreational programs and activities that are accessible and appealing to residents of all age groups, abilities, and income levels. To help implement these goals and policies by allowing temporary recreational opportunities in the city, Chapter 20.08 and 20.24 of the zoning code is proposed to be amended to allow for temporary commercial recreation facilities in the AG and OS2 zones with the approval of a CUP as mentioned, consistent with the process for permitting commercial recreation facilities. So the AG and OS2 zones are most are just located in the southern part of the city. They're kind of surrounded here in red that you can see there. The primary kind of area that we're looking at mostly is within this area here with the AG and the OS2, south of Pine, west of Euclid, and kind of just east of the Prado golf course that's located there. It's important to note too that this ordinance is written as only would not be permitted in any of the specific plan areas, including the preserve, which is to the east. This would only be for the city general. A CUP is a discretionary approval by the Planning Commission. which would allow for the implementation of various conditions to be applied to the temporary use that can include hours of operation, parking, traffic routing plans, requirement for any kind of police to service the property, noise mitigation, security, et cetera. And the original impetus of this amendment was to potentially allow for portions of the area identified to be used as temporary entertainment venue, along with other potential uses for overflow parking for events in Prado Park. There is also an amendment to the sign code to exempt certain signs on city-owned properties or facilities from the sign regulations to allow for the installation of electronic vehicle charging stations that could potentially include digital displays for advertising purposes if approved. The charging stations are planned to be installed at a number of city parks and facilities, and the displays on the charging stations are not intended to be readable from adjacent streets or private properties. The use of EV vehicles in the city has expanded as EV vehicles have become more popular and readily available. Currently, EV charging stations are located here at City Hall and at the Carol Owens Center and are used mostly by staff and some for the public. In an effort to expand the city's EV charging infrastructure and make it more cost-effective for residents and visitors, the city is aggressively looking to expand the number of locations of EV charging stations located on city properties and other city facilities, including parks. One way to make the use of charging stations more cost-effective is for their use to allow for advertising at EV charging stations. The intent of displays at these charging stations would be viewable for persons charging their vehicles and not intended to provide advertising visible from outside of the property station are located. It would also be the ability to the city to be able to promote events if they need on those types of facilities. The city is currently working with EV charging station vendors to determine the best EV charging stations infrastructure plan for the city. So this amendment would allow for more flexibility in which vendors of the city contracts with in the future, depending on the vendor, the location of the actual charging stations. A notice was published in the Chino Champion on February 10th. Actually, let me go back. This is just an example of what those stations could look like. I just kind of pulled these off the internet of just different types of facilities that could be used. This amendment, a notice was published in the Chino Champion on February 10th. On March 9th, and the city sent information out on the city's social media platforms. This notice exceeds the legal requirements and is adequate in scope for the project. No comments have been received to date. The zone ordinance amendment is exempt from the provisions of the California Environmental Quality Act pursuant to section 15061B3, the common sense exemption. Staff recommends that the City Council approve the introduction of ordinance number 2024-004 related to the zoning ordinance amendment PL 23-0019. And staff is here to answer any questions you might have.
Thank you, Michael. Prior to questions of staff from council, is there anyone in the audience that would like to address the council on this item? Okay, then I'll turn it over to council comments. Okay, I have, Curtis, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
Okay, I have some questions. You know, we have chipped away and chipped away and chipped away at our ag land to where we have hardly anything left. So you say that this change can facilitate a temporary change to ag land. How long is temporary?
Well, through the conditional use process, we could set the time. We could set the time for just a summer, could be a few weeks, could be over multiple years during summer months. That's the whole purpose of the temporary use, is to allow us to dictate that time through the review process of the CUP.
So if we had a active piece of agricultural land that had crops on it, and in the future the city wanted to put something else there as temporary for a couple of years, we could do that then. It would be allowed within this ordinance.
With the approval of the special conditional use permit.
And can these temporary uses be changed to permanent?
Not with this, not the way this is drafted, no.
But it could in the future, right? It could come back and you could permanently change the zoning from ag to something else?
Yes.
Well, I'm really troubled by this, and I understand why we want to do it down there next to Pine and Euclid because of the potential coming concerts and the parking in that one depressed area. And as I spoke to our city manager, that doesn't bother me. but the rest of it does. And I think we're opening the door to potentially losing the little bit of ag land that we have left by doing this, and it really troubles me.
And Mayor, Council, so Mike and I have had a long discussion about that. How will it affect that area of the city? So we did provide a map, and Mike can kind of show you an aerial, if they can bring the PowerPoint back up.
I saw the
That kind
map.
of that
saw it.
superimposes what's underneath it. So a lot of the area right now is golf course or areas where RP2 is. We can kind of explain it to you. There you go.
That's the open space.
Right, and then the ag itself it's very limited down there, and Mike's absolutely right. The only way so the temporary uses will be established in terms of the time frame based on the use itself. But in terms of that permit, it would have to be a zone change. A lot of this is below the 566 where you can't develop anyway, but just say you can, it'd have to come before the council, get the zone change to do a permanent facility down there. So we can't do a permanent facility in the ag land until the council would allow the change in zone. And again, the purpose is mainly for the corner, but it's very restrictive down there as it is now. Mike can kind of describe the areas for the council and the public so they can kind of get an idea of what's out there.
Yeah, so this area here is kind of more of a swampy area, and then this is the RP2, which is part of IUA's processing. This is also property owned by IUA. That's part of their facility. This area here is mostly basins for all these industrial buildings, and then as the Magnolia Channel kind of flows down into there. And then the rest of this OS2 area is mostly the golf course. And then down here is where the Prado, the archery and shooting range is down there. And then this here is, again, this is a very depressed area. This area was actually dirt they kind of took out to be able to build this area up years ago when they kind of brought that into the floodplain to be able to raise up the rest of this. So this is the only area in the city where there is AG and the OS2 zoning that isn't within a specific plan, which the
Where's
code.
CIW on this?
CIW's way east in the preserve.
And to add to that, Mayor, of course, we'd have to get, for any of these temporary uses for a CUP, you have to get the property owner's approval. There was some discussion with Army Corps that for the golf course area, maybe that's an opportunity to do it in the range and that sort of thing, the golf range. They don't have an interest at this time. So the important part too is you have to have the property owner's approval to do a temporary facility anywhere. So that's key too. We understand at this point that the OC flood property, which Mike and you kind of identify for the public.
It's these,
that area,
basically these
those three parcels, they're the ones that are interested. So while, because when we analyze it, we say that it's limited, the area, and I understand your concern, Mayor, for sure. It's limited, you have to get property owner's approval, it's a temporary use, it requires a CUP where we can mitigate anything that we don't want in terms of discretionary approval. We think as staff, when we noodled it and got through the process, we're pretty safe as a city. Of course, it's still up to the council tonight, but we think after we noodled it all, it's pretty safe.
But there is, excuse me, there is ag further east on the other side of Euclid that you're not showing on this map. And this change would affect that ag land also, correct?
No. We specifically have a provision in there that restricts it to excludes any specific plan areas. So the preserve is a specific plan area,
Okay,
so it
but
would not
this
be
is
permitted.
part of the preserve. It's the land that the county traded some Southern Calf land for 300 and some acres.
You're talking about the old ag preserve is this area
off
is
of
the
Hellman.
preserve specific plan area is what's east of Euclid Avenue.
I know,
So
but
that's
you've also got south of the preserve, you've got all of that ag land down there that the county traded a 100-acre dairy for. Switched 100 acres for 300, and I think it was 42 acres, so that they could sell the rest of the Southern Calf land. And all that down there is ag, because you can't develop it.
But everything south in that area is in the preserve.
It's in this preserve.
Specific plan.
Not if it's under the 566 take lane, is it?
It's
Yes,
still,
ma'am,
yes.
it is.
It's still in the, it's still in the
But
boundaries.
it's zoned
of-
ag, right?
There is a portion, sorry, Mike.
Go ahead.
There is a portion that's on the east side of Euclid. I wish we had a bigger area, but on the east side of Euclid, within the preserve specific plan, below the developable portion of the specific plan. Remember, the developable portion is only half of the specific plan area, essentially. Below that, there's a lot of ag, open space, and other Prado Dam area, the flood inundation area
Right.
that's undevelopable. That is in the preserve. this excludes it. We made sure we didn't want to include it in anywhere else in the city except this area, so we took it out of any specific plan, any other area that it would be affected for the ag portion and the OS2. This is the only area that is OS2 and ag that's outside of a specific plan.
I didn't see that language in there,
Yeah, if,
excluding anything else.
if you look at the table, there's a footnote. I think it's, and then right below the footnote, under the table, it says excludes any property in the cities that is subject to a specific plan.
So it's page
I
228
did not
of the
think that
report.
that land south of the preserve was part of the preserve.
Yeah, the whole area east of,
All the way
including
south
including
to the
Prado
county
Park,
line?
including
All the way south to the county line.
everything that's in the city.
Okay, so in that land, say the county decides they want to put a temporary use down there that really turns out to be a permanent use, that would have to be approved by the council.
That would require whatever land use change. This ordinance would not apply to that.
Okay,
to
so
that
they
land.
couldn't do it temporary?
No,
Because
not
it's my
with this.
understanding that in the Prado Park part, there's some areas down there that they want to change.
To be clear, without having the table in front of us, there's uses that are allowed in a specific plan. We don't have them in front of us, that are allowed in every land use category. When you get to open space and ag, they're very limited. So there may be some uses that they're allowed to do with the park use that are identified for the park that may be allowed to be active recreation. But unless we have those uses in front of us, I can't tell you right now. The one thing I can tell you is that the interesting thing is that when you look at Prado Park and the preserve, the ag and open space areas, the uses there are a little different than the other rest of the city. So for example, you can do a temporary recreation use at Prado Park because it's allowed in a specific plan. Just across the Euclid Avenue, outside of the specific plan, you can't. So that's why we had to come before you tonight and make these changes with the open space and the ag land uses, because it's not allowed on this side of Euclid Avenue. For example.
Okay. Any other comments or questions?
I have a question.
Karen?
I think we have actually been programming Prado Park with entertainment, not to this scale that maybe others would prefer it to happen, but that is already happening. But to the mayor's point, are any of these parcels of ag presently being farmed that are on this map?
Not that I'm aware of, no.
That's all, Mayor.
None of these that are west of Euclid?
Right.
None of those are being farmed?
No.
No.
Because I know there's there's still a lot of farmland in the Prado Basin. Okay, if there's no other questions, if there's no other, no.
I just have one more comment, Mayor.
Oh, go
I
ahead.
think also, as we proceed, hopefully with the, acquisition of the Stark property, right, we just need to pay attention to that plan as we move forward, right, Mayor? Because that will be, close to this area, but I'm sure our planner's already on top of that.
Yeah, we'll have to look at how we zone that and what we call it to be more specific to how we do that.
Chris?
Yeah, so my question pertains to the sign ordinance. Oh, the advertisement, who's that open to? Is it open to the city only, or is it open to?
Yeah, if we end up entering to a contract with someone who does that, the city would have complete control over how that works with the vendor. So it'd be under the city's purview on, reviewing what gets advertised. The city would also be allowed, like I said, to utilize it for city events and other things. So that will be in that contract that we have with that vendor, if this was an option that we went with.
But it wouldn't just be an option for the city. It would be that vendor would then solicit advertisements to put on there
And
for a fee.
And the solicitor makes that decision, or staff makes that? Who makes that decision of if a private entity comes in and who makes that decision?
On the type of advertising, is that the question you're asking?
Yeah, yes.
Do you know the answer to that?
I don't know if we have those details yet.
I think that if, depending on what company we choose, we would have that conversation ahead of time so that we could have a say in the type of advertising that was allowed.
Okay, well, I guess my wish would be that we have more than a say. I just wouldn't want certain types of, businesses advertising what, what they do, at least here in our city. So again, if, the more control we have over that, I think it'd be the
So-
best for the city.
So
This makes a good point. We need some guidelines.
I could chime in on a few of these points. The ordinance before the council really only permits these exceptions on city-owned property, right? So to the extent the city enters into a lease with an advertiser, the lease can provide some further guidance. If it's a scenario where it's a private advertiser, with First Amendment issues really limit our opportunities. But if we own the land and we decide to provide an opportunity for advertisements, we have a lot more control and we don't have to lease it if we're unhappy. So we can craft that message. That doesn't work the same way if it's a private operator that has those First Amendment rights.
And
If that makes sense.
But if we didn't like the operations of the private operator, when their lease is up, we could opt to maybe select another operator, right?
That's
They're gonna,
exactly right.
help
And-
us with that.
And we could even provide guidelines
yeah,
that we don't want anything that,
We have that in other,
Change
in other
cigarettes.
areas of our ordinance for like lewd and lascivious.
Correct.
Yeah, okay.
And Mayor, Council, I think Rob has a little more information he'd like to share with you because he's actually been in the thick of things in terms of that side of the issue.
Yeah, we've looked at a couple different vendors to provide EV charging stations, and one of them that has the signboards, what they present on the sign is under their control. However, there are restrictions. They don't want to provide anything that would be lewd or, inappropriate for children or even adults. So there are covenants and restrictions on what is allowed. And then, the city would be able to have a say in that. But those charge stations would be owned and operated by the vendor, with the city having input. And it has strict requirements on what can't be presented on those signs.
But it's their restrictions, not our restrictions.
Well, I think they're general commercial kind of restrictions. They know that, communities don't want things that are questionable. And so the restrictions are fairly strict, I guess.
Couldn't we automatically have those restrictions in our own ordinance?
and again, to the extent we are leasing the space, we have we have a lot more latitude.
But even on private property, I mean, there's some things you,
Right. On private
Like
property, the
X-rated stuff or
guardrails are a
whatever?
lot wider, so we can't restrict certain things that could become a First Amendment problem. So,
We can control content also through the contract. So when we were to enter into a contract, we could negotiate those kinds of restrictions.
Mark?
Just two comments. First, thank you guys for explaining that it's only those parameters that we're going to be allowing the temporary use. And thanks for moving on this, because after Supervisor Hagman was here talking about trying to bring this live entertainment to Chino to make us a destination for our surrounding areas as well as our residents. So I appreciate you guys moving on this to move this forward. I think this is something that we need to do if we want to get to that point where we bring entertainment for our community. And thank you for making sure that it's narrow so that it's not broad, because I don't think anybody on the council would want to develop anything that we have already zoned for open space. I think we want to actually add some open space at the Stark property because it's important to us. So as long as those parameters are there, I have no issue with moving forward with this. And I also appreciate the fact that you guys are looking at EV stations, because you look at all our surrounding areas, they all have chargers for all the vehicles that we have currently that are out here that are electric, and we don't have charging stations for our residents. So to be able to look at a potential 2 vendors and have as high as 80 additional charging stations for our community, I think it's moving us in the right direction, especially since that's the direction the state is going in with electric vehicles. So I appreciate you guys bringing this forward. Thank you. I think we do need to obviously look at some advertisements, but I believe that they know that if they're going to be putting this in front of our public library or senior centers or whatever the property that we decide to put this on, that there's going to be some limitations on what we're going to advertise. But so I appreciate you guys bringing this forward. I like the way we're in the direction that we're going. So thank you for doing that. That's my comments.
Anything else, Chris? Any other comments? Okay, one last question. Stark property has a lot of ag around it right now. This does not pertain to that property?
No, that's an OS1
Okay.
zoning.
All right.
Yeah, and I think when we do the Stark one, we'll probably look very creative on how we zone, whether it's an overlay or some kind of zoning we do there, so we can be very particular on what can be allowed in that particular area.
And to add to that, we're already looking at how do we make that fit better in terms of the property, to make sure it meets all of the city requirements just in terms of what we want there. Right, in terms of the land use, the zoning, do we need to change it out of OS1 to make sure that we get the mix of uses we want there? So we're already looking at that as staff.
If we get what we're working on right now, it's my hope that we have the courage to retire the development rights on the part that's going to be the farm, so that we don't have to have any controversy on it in the future. Okay, with that, then I would close the public hearing, and I would ask for a motion and a second to approve. Motion from Councilman Burton, second from Councilman Flores. Fred?
Thank you, Mayor. Before the council is an introduction of ordinance number 24-004, entitled An Ordinance of the City Council of the City of Chino, California, amending selected provisions of the sign code, Title 26 of the Municipal Code, and zoning code, Title 20 of the Municipal Code of the City of Chino, PL 23-0119, Zone Ordinance Amendment. And again, that's being read by title only and waiving further reading. Thank you, Mayor.
Okay, please vote. Item passes unanimously. Next, under new business, fiscal year 2023-24 mid-year financial review. This is a receive and file, the status report. Our staff report will be provided by Mr. Rob Burns, our Director of Finance.
Good evening, Mayor and members of City Council. Tonight I bring before you the 23-24 mid-year financial review. This year's financial review covers the current fiscal year through the end of February 2024 and includes all areas of operations with an emphasis on the city's general fund. Finance staff has met with each department to review and analyze both operating revenues and expenditures in order to evaluate and identify potential changes to the 23-24 budget. Staff's reviewed the three major revenue sources of the city, looking closely at sales tax, property tax, and development-related revenue. The good news is property tax is anticipated to be $3 million higher than budgeted for a total of $37.3 million. The increase is due to numerous reassessments of large industrial properties located throughout the city. These reassessments, along with new development, increased net assessed values by 12.8%. On the other side, sales tax is anticipated to be under budget by $2.5 million for a total of $34.5 million. Sales tax receipts are down across the state, the counties, and most cities. This decrease is largely the result of high inflation changing consumers' buying habits. Development revenue is also anticipated to be under budget by $3.8 million for the year. Development activity has slowed down due to rising interest rates. It's difficult to project the degree and length of this current slowdown in new development, but we'll keep a close eye on that revenue source. However, increases in other revenues, such as interest income with the higher interest rates, will bring the total general fund revenue loss to about $1.3 million for the fiscal year. Staff's also reviewed expenditures and identified several areas that need adjustments to the adopted 23-24 budget. A complete list of requested appropriations is contained in the staff report, and I'll just mention a few here. For the general fund, staff is requesting $110,000 of additional appropriations for the Chino Valley Fire District. The city's contract with the fire district is based on property taxes received by the city. As I indicated previously, property tax receipts have increased, which has caused an increase in our city's obligation to the fire district. Also, for our liability insurance fund, staff is requesting an additional $550,000 for additional legal expenses for general liability claims. And for our building management fund, staff is requesting an additional $185,000 for Southern California Edison bills due to increased utilities costs. I do need to mention one thing in the staff report. We were asking for a contractual amendment for Bureau Veritas assessments. Sorry, let me get it. Bureau Veritas technical assessments. That was the incorrect name. The correct name should be Bureau Veritas North America. So we're just asking for that change in the staff report. And then with that, that concludes my report, and I'm available for any questions.
Okay, thank you, Rob. Any questions or comments? Okay, then we would need a motion in a second, please. Motion from Mayor Pro Tem Comstock, second from Councilman Burton. Please vote. Item passes unanimously. Item number 13, Mayor Pro Tem Comstock, I believe, is going to abstain.
Yes, Mayor, I do. I actually live within this housing development. I was just going to ask the city attorney, do I physically have to leave the room, or can I just sit here and be quiet and abstain? Whichever you recommend.
You just simply have to leave the dais, but
Okay.
if you have an opportunity as an interested resident to make a comment, if that's what you'd like to do, and stay in the audience. Otherwise, leaving the dais is appropriate.
Thank you.
Item number 13, final acceptance of public improvements, track map number 18903, Meritage Homes of California Incorporated. This item is to accept the public improvements for Meritage Homes located north of Chino Avenue between Pipeline and Norton Avenues as complete, authorize release of the performance bond, and initiate the warranty bond. A staff report this evening will be provided by our Assistant City Engineer, Jesus Plasencia, and our Director of Public Works, Hajan Lee.
Good evening, Mayor and members of the City Council. Go back. There we go. On August 20th, 2018, the Planning Commission approved tentative track map 18903 and a site approval submitted by Meritage Homes of California Incorporated for the development of 38 single-family homes on 12 acres of land generally located north of Chino Avenue between Pipeline and Norton Avenue. This area was previously part of the city's sphere of influence and was annexed into the city as part of previous city council approvals. The in-track public streets include Rushmore Court, Ryan Way, and Denali Lane as shown on this slide. The conditions of approval for the project required the developer to design and construct various on-site and off-site public improvements, including but not limited to curb and gutter, sidewalks, street pavement, streetlights, parkway landscaping, and utilities. The conditions of approval also required the developer to enter into a subdivision improvement agreement to ensure the completion of the required public improvements. This agreement was approved by the council back on July 2nd, 2019. The required public improvements include the design and construction of master plan storm drain line 43-1 along Pipeline Avenue from the project site frontage down to Chino Avenue. This storm drain not only serves the project, but also upstream tributary areas north of the site. Although part of the city's master plan of drainage, the storm drain was not part of the city's development impact fee program because it was in the city's sphere of influence. For this reason, and in the interest of getting the facility constructed with the project, the city issued a letter of commitment to the developer agreeing to enter into a DIF credit and reimbursement agreement. This agreement was approved by the council on October 1st, 2019. On September 7, 2021, residents in the community raised concerns to the council about the status of certain public improvements, specifically the amount of standing water on street gutters, excessive road curb striping on streets, and the location of the community's mailbox. Staff investigated the concerns raised by the residents, addressed them, and then provided an update to council, which was received and filed at the meeting held on October 5th, 2021. In December 2021, staff notified the developer about minor cracks that were observed in the street pavement, mainly along Rushmore Court and Ryan Way. The cracks were addressed by the developer at the request of staff through the application of a slurry seal to the street pavement. However, after the slurry seal was applied, staff began receiving complaints from residents about observed signs of raveling and disintegration of the pavement. Staff then coordinated with the developer to investigate and respond to the concerns. In January 2023, staff observed cracks on the newly slurry sealed pavement that appeared to be more extensive than what was previously observed. City staff investigated the matter with the assistance of a geotechnical engineering consultant and had several meetings with the developer's team. Staff also received the Infrastructures Committee's feedback on how to address the cracking concern at meetings held on July 6, 2023 and September 13, 2023. So I'd like to now go into more detail on the various concerns raised by staff and the residents in the community and how they were addressed. So the first one is standing water in street gutters. So there were two approaches initially recommended to address the problem. The first was to have the developer fully remove and replace the existing curb and gutter throughout the tract by using better survey control, formwork, and concrete finishing techniques. The second was to replace a portion of the curb drains in the right-of-way that come from residential lot side yards and replace them with perforated pipe and gravel to allow percolation of water runoff from residential lots. Staff ultimately concluded that neither approach would resolve the issue. The existing curb and gutter was built per the city-approved plans and standards. Therefore, based on existing grades, its reconstruction is not going to significantly alter the street gutter slopes. In addition, a perforated pipe system would be subject to clogging from sediment and debris if not properly maintained by homeowners, thus nullifying its intended purpose. Furthermore, these alternative solutions don't address the primary issue in the community, which is excess nuisance water being discharged into streets from certain residential lots. The resident at 4215 Denali Lane had previously raised concerns about standing water at the home's driveway. Staff investigated the matter and determined that the gutter in front of the driveway had adequate slope to ensure positive drainage per the approved plans. However, we noticed there was nuisance water slowing down at this location due to the accumulation of sediment and debris combined with some slight variations in the gutter slope at certain points in the driveway. Staff then coordinated with the developer to reconstruct the street gutter and provide a slope that's slightly greater than what was specified on the plans to help address the issue. So the work occurred the week of February 12th of this year and was completed to the satisfaction of the resident and city staff. And next is the red curb striping within the community. Residents were concerned about how the red curb striping limited the amount of available street parking. In response, staff coordinated with a developer to approve a revised striping plan that reduced the amount of red curb striping as much as possible within the tract. After the revised plan was approved, Public Works staff used high-pressure water to remove the excess red curb markings, and in doing so, concrete patching that was previously applied by the developer's contractor to address damage from construction activities had begun to crumble and fail. Staff documented these failures and then had the developer make the necessary repairs to the curb to the city's satisfaction. Next is the community mailbox. Residents expressed concern about it being moved from Rushmore Court to Denali Lane. It was initially placed on Rushmore Court during the early stages of the project at an interim location that was near the model's tract homes. The tract's model homes and first phase of residential units. It was then later relocated to its current spot as part of the full build-out of the project. The current location on Denali Lane is centrally located within the community in accordance with the approved plans and as approved by the U.S. Postmaster. Staff has received direction from council to investigate the possibility of splitting the mailbox into 2 or more separate locations in the community that would be more convenient for residents to access. Staff has submitted a request to the U.S. Postmaster and is currently waiting a response. In addition, staff also received grievances about the existing community mailbox location not having a curb ramp to the street for disabled access. Since a curb ramp at this location was not part of the developer's conditions of approval and it is an ADA requirement, Public Works staff intends to address the grievances by constructing a new curb ramp soon after the improvements are accepted by the city. The last item is the street pavement. On October 20th, 2022, Staff reached out to the developer to request a response to the issues raised by the residents regarding the application of slurry seal. The developer indicated that their concerns were common occurrences when slurry seal is applied on a street next to occupied homes. Some amount of tire tracking and material raveling is expected, but following the recommendations provided by the contractor would reduce the amount of blemishes to the asphalt and impacts to the residents. The contractor provided these recommendations to the residents as part of their initial notification about the pending slurry seal job. Staff was satisfied with the developer's response to the concerns, but will continue to monitor the condition of the asphalt during the warranty period. Should it show signs that it's prematurely degrading to an unacceptable level, staff would withhold release of the warranty bond and require the pavement to be removed and replaced. Staff and its geotechnical engineering consultant reviewed various historical inspection and testing documents to determine what may have caused the pavement cracking. None of the data suggests that there was any kind of underlying issue with the pavement. The developer's geotechnical consultant concluded that it was normal thermal cracking that is typically the result of temperature changes in the environment while the pavement is still warm. The city's geotechnical consultant agreed most of the cracks appear to be normal cracks, but some visually appear to be more extensive, despite the data suggesting otherwise. For this reason, the developer agreed to pay the city $136,180, which is the estimated cost to rehabilitate the pavement should it prematurely fail in the future. These funds have been received by the city and will be specifically utilized to rehabilitate the in-track streets as part of a future CIP project. City staff has determined that the public improvements are now substantially complete, comply with all applicable city standards and accessibility requirements. The developer has paid all project-related fees and has provided the city with the security for a one-year warranty period to ensure correction of any defects found during the warranty period. In addition, the streetlights within the community have been annexed into the city's lighting district as of November 5th, 2019. Therefore, staff recommends that the council accept the public improvements as complete, authorize the release of the performance bond, and initiate the warranty bond. Staff also recommends an immediate reimbursement of $1,178,914 to the developer for the construction of Storm Drain Line 43-1 in accordance with the DIF credit and reimbursement agreement. That concludes my report. I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Okay, prior to questions of staff, is there anyone in the audience that would like to address the council on this item? Karen? Or let's let this gentleman first.
Hi, Mayor and council members, good evening. Thank you for having us. My name's Ephraim. I work with Meritage Homes. I'm the Director of Forward Planning. I just wanted to express our thanks to the city staff and the city manager. We've met with them over the last few months since the middle of summer, I would say. Met with Hajan and Jesus and Warren a few times. I think the best thing about it was just ultra communicative, good back and forth between us. And I think that was really beneficial to getting to where we are at today. So wanted to thank them for all the communication. Definitely had some ups and downs over those months, but we made it. And I just want to say that I think the city's lucky to have those staff members as a part of this city. Thank you.
Mm-hmm. Thank you, Mayor. My name's Karen Comstock. I live at 4208 Denali Lane. And in addition to, I won't get into, obviously, the residents that live in this 38-home infill project, because this is actually a matter tonight of the public improvements and different things that have been done in public right-of-way. But I can tell you, I do want to thank the council for trying to do the best that they can to hold the developer accountable for what I would say has been some very disappointing work that has occurred out there, outside of residents' homes. It's a brand-new housing tract. You can go look and park off of Norton Avenue and look on Rushmore and see how the street is failing in different areas. And there is, what I would say, a collection of very intelligent people living there that are dealing with some of the frustrations of the construction there. Now, I know that that is not your concern when it comes to private home ownership, but I will say that I think our staff is going to deal with in the acceptance of this project street paving issues that are going to have to be addressed sooner rather than later. You're not going to see, I do believe, the full lifetime of this street in which it's now been paved. The other thing is, residents of this community watched as they try and go and make corrections to curb striping and different things, and watching patching failing on curbs or different things. I'm just saying that in accepting this project, which I know that there is an agreement with this council, I do believe we will have to be back out there fixing curb and gutter and sidewalk. My parents literally live around the corner in a housing development that is probably at this point 30 or 40 years old, and curb and gutter and sidewalk over there is much more suitable, much more durable than what it is we're going to encounter here. So regretfully, in accepting this project, we will deal with things over there that are going to fail because of how it was constructed and how we approved it as a staff. So I've actually talked to our staff as a resident to this in the past in looking at it, so that hopefully we don't make the same mistakes in the future. But I do think my neighbors would be disappointed in me if I didn't stand up and talk about some of the things that we've encountered there, not just from privately as residents, but also from the public improvements. So thank you.
Karen, I have a question.
Yes, ma'am.
Some time ago, we had some of the residents in your tract come and say that they were having cement failures on patios and driveways and things. Is that still happening?
They're having unusual failures of that nature. Mostly it's also just like unusual curing of the cement. Curing that is just discolored. I would also say that I opted to take the cement out that the developer in front of my house and in my driveway put in there because it was really of poor quality and poor finishing. But there's a lot of people that can't afford to do that, and they're living with either having to go out and have it skimmed to treat it and conceal some of those, what I would call aesthetic blemishes. But the quality of the cement there, it will easily deteriorate if you're too hard on it or do different things to it. I don't know, there is a life cycle to cement while you're pouring it, right, and sitting in the truck and different things. But there are righteous concerns by a lot of the residents that live in there about different things that have happened there. And I don't think that's going, you and I both know that that's not going to stop at residents' houses. That type of construction is going to translate into also the street and things that you guys are contemplating accepting here this evening. I don't know that there's, a right way to go about doing this. I think that the developer has tried to, appease the city and come to an amiable agreement. Just understand that what we accept tonight, we're not going to get the same lifespan out of what we've constructed there as we have in other developments throughout the city. That's all I'm saying.
I think it's really sad. Years ago, we had a track that was built, and it was such poor quality. Crazier than this one. Roofs were sagging. There was hot water in toilets and not hot water in sinks, and it was a disaster, an absolute disaster. And it's such a disappointment to be excited for a new development and then have so many issues with it. It's been heartbreaking. And I know it's been very difficult on these residents. Comments or questions? Chris?
So we heard one of the issues that was brought up tonight, and it has been an ongoing issue, is the street, right? The street paving issues. You mentioned that there's $136,000 that Meritage gave for the city to, repair when the time comes. My two questions are, or my first question is, when do we expect for that time to come? What's the the life expectancy of the streets the way they are now?
Good evening, Councilman Flores. We expect that the typical rate of when we do maintenance and slurry is after about 7 years. We do a slurry, and after about 10 or 15 years, we'll do a mill and overlay. So we will continue to monitor the conditions and whether we do a slurry application and as a new to the city of Chino, I'm also exploring some different materials for us to consider. Instead of using conventional slurry, I want to maybe migrate to some type of a polymer material that might be initially a little bit more expensive, but will give us a longer service life. So we're looking at different materials to help stretch our dollars and maintain our roadway consistent with how we want to spend our own money. So probably in the next 3 to 5 years, we'll probably plan something in that neighborhood.
So in the next 3 to 5 years, when that planning is being discussed and it is proposed to the council, will the cost for that still be $136,000?
We had actually put a little bit of a, I guess, I think we call it a contingency amount as a part of that cost. So that does include contingency as in anticipation of inflation of cost. And it doesn't include all the street limits. It's only the portion that were determined by the geotechnical engineer as deficient. It's not the whole stretch. It's the portion of Ryan Avenue and portion of the one on the top.
Right, it's all of Rushmore Court,
Yeah,
Ryan
Rushmore.
Way, and about half of Denali. That's basically where you see the cracks, because you don't have cracks throughout the entire segment of Denali.
And in your guys' discussions as staff and even with, the developer, did we talk about possibly just getting this, street repaved now as opposed to 3 to 5 years from now?
Yeah, we had multiple discussions about that with the developer and among staff. We don't think that that's a good use of funds at the moment because the current pavement still has some service life remaining. So we didn't think that that would be right thing to do, to grind and overlay and still a perfectly good pavement. Yes, there are some blemishes, but that doesn't mean that structurally it's unsound.
Yeah, I'm sorry, the last question is, and that $136,000, you said it's just restricted for street repavement, is that correct? In that tract?
Yes.
Okay.
So when we were in the Infrastructure Streets Committee meeting, I think you guys explained that the reason we're not repaving it now is because the ground may still settle some. So to ground and overlay it now, the ground may still settle and then we would have to do it again. So it's better to let it sit for a couple of years.
Right.
Make sure
Yes.
that it's completely settled and then go in and redo it.
Yes.
Correct.
Just a minute, when the mailboxes are divided, if the post office approves that, who's going to pay to relocate part of those mailboxes?
I would assume the city, because at that point, the public improvements would have already been accepted. So,
Yeah, that the relocation of mailboxes was not part of their development obligation.
So the city will pay to relocate the mailboxes and do the sloped curb?
Ramps, yes,
Ramps.
ADA ramps.
well, I think the idea is that we're looking at trying to put the relocated mailboxes at strategic locations such that we wouldn't need to install any more ramps besides at the current location. So that way, we're putting mailboxes where it's more convenient for people that need disabled access, that they can use the existing ramps that are in the community.
Oh, okay, all right. And the residents there are happy with the locations you've selected?
I don't believe, unless I'm mistaken, I don't believe they have seen the proposed locations of the mailboxes as of yet.
Well, because of all the problems with that track, I certainly would pass it by the residents before I'd relocate them.
Mayor, our plan is to meet with the HOA before we make that determination where we're gonna put them and
Okay.
ensure that the residents want to see them in different locations throughout the community.
Okay. Curtis?
You know, I look at that street, it looks horrible, absolutely horrible. Meritage should be ashamed of themselves for trying to, get that to pass within our city staff. I mean, that's horrible for the residents to have to come home and see their street all cracked. It's a brand-new street. It's a beautiful development. The homes are beautiful. They really are, but you drive in there, and the streets just look like garbage. Now, Hadrian, you had mentioned that there could be another material that could be used that would prevent that type of cracking. If there is, how come we haven't looked into that now and tried that for those residents that have paid, a lot of money for their homes in that street. How come we haven't looked into doing that now?
We are still in the process of trying to figure out which material will be suitable for our application. So we are investigating several materials before we select one. So we want to do our due diligence before we settle on which ones we're going to use.
I think Meritage should have done their due diligence a long time ago when this originally came up. And again, they should be ashamed of themselves for trying to press that product now off on the city and the people that have paid thousands and thousands of dollars for those beautiful homes in there. That's their residence, that's their primary residence, and that's their quality of life. And that's just too bad, for us to say, hey, that's ground movement. That's just the way the ground is, and it shakes and rattles and rolls a little bit and causes cracks. To a brand new development, yeah, I've seen some of that, but not to that extent. And the other issues with the concrete and the mailboxes and the paint, all these issues, has Meritage done any other developments in our city?
I believe so. I believe they developed a residential site on Central Avenue and Mariner Lane on the east side, if I'm not mistaken.
Jesus, are you aware if we've had any problems over there? Because I certainly want to look into that with what they have provided to the residents over on the west side.
No, I don't believe so. Actually, we accepted that track, I believe, last year, if I'm not mistaken.
So in the meantime, we're just going to allow the cracks to be there on their streets. Is that correct? Are we going to go in and fill that maybe with some, I don't know, gravel or something my thought, and forgive me, I don't know, it seems to me like if it rains and the rain goes down into the cracks, it would cause more of a problem. Mm-hmm. So are we filling those cracks in the meantime?
Like crack seal?
I don't know what you call it.
That's what we would call it, a crack seal.
So have we done that in there?
I don't think it's, the cracks that you see are hairline cracks, and we could probably do a crack seal, but it'll be a surface application. But problem is, once we do that, it's gonna look like.
Looks terrible.
Yeah, it looks terrible too.
It looks terrible now.
Yeah.
And they don't look like hairline cracks to me. They look pretty significant. I'm very, very concerned, and it's a shame that we're trying to,
Putting Band-Aids on it.
Exactly. Right. We need to correct the problem. Again, if we knew that there's a different material, Meritage should have handled that. Mm-hmm. So that's all my comments, Mayor.
No, we do slurry seals throughout the city, and it's always beautiful when it's done, and it lasts for a long time. It's baffling why something would get slurry sealed and then immediately have cracks. It's just sad, and I think when we redo that, I would encourage us to redo every street and not leave that one half street. That's going to look ridiculous.
Yes, we completely agree. Yes, we'll do the whole track.
Now, is it really going to take a couple of years to see if the land settles? Do you think that's really what it's going to take?
I think it shouldn't take more than a couple of years to really see if there's been any further degradation. I think, like I mentioned in the staff report, there's no data that suggests that the pavement isn't going to last as long as it normally would last. So it's quite possible, even despite the cracks, even if they get a little bit bigger, it's quite possible the pavement will last 10 to 15 years. And during that time, all we'll end up doing is a slurry seal and then do a grind and overlay within the 10 to 15 year period.
I agree with Curtis. I feel bad for the residents there. I mean, they paid a lot of money for those homes. And it was one of our newest tracks. People were so excited because they were lots that were big enough to have a pool and stuff like that. And then they've had so many problems. I mean, some of the curb coloring with ADA was the nightmare because of ADA, and a lot of that couldn't be helped. I mean, you guys were able to take some of it away, but some of it was legally required because of the layout of the streets. But they've been through so much, and I just, if there's a way we can get those streets fixed at least so that cosmetically they look better, I think we should do it. I don't want to wait 2 to 3 years or, 5 to 15 years to redo them. I think it's adding insult to injury for the people that live there. And I don't know how we prevent that kind of thing from happening in the future, I mean, when a developer comes in and wants to build something, you have to assume that they're gonna do a decent job, especially at the prices that they're asking for homes nowadays. And it's unfortunate that we've now had to deal with 2 different developers that just didn't put out the quality that they should have. It's just a crying shame. Now, the other developer years ago that did such a horrible job, we were able to take action and ensure that they never build in our city again. It's unfortunate, and it's a nightmare that you lived with for a long time. So I don't know, I would encourage us to fix those streets as soon as we can. Any other comments? Well, reluctantly, at least on my part, we need a motion and a second to adopt staff's recommendation. So is there a motion, and is there a second? If not, what's the alternative now?
Well, I would suggest, Mayor, if there is some direction to staff to go back and work with the applicant. I did hear your suggestion that if it is accepted, that perhaps the city come in and do some repairs that your Public Works Director suggested at an earlier stage. So your options are you could approve staff's recommendation with that directive that the city come in and perform the suggested repairs earlier. You could also just send it back to staff and to work with the developer and see what other items could be done to address the concerns that were raised by the council.
Curtis?
Yeah, my thought is we do not accept this in the condition that it's in. I mean, that's embarrassing, for our staff to want to work something out with the developer. As the mayor said, these people have spent hundreds of thousands of dollars on these homes. And they need to have a product at the conclusion of that's going to be acceptable. And this is not acceptable. And I don't want to relieve anybody from that until we're able to give them, the residents, a neighborhood that they deserve.
I think looking at the recommendation, number 1 is to repay the fees for the storm drain fund, which I think is an obligation that we need to fulfill because it's not for just this track, it was for Pipeline Avenue. Can we approve item number 1 and then skip number 2 and number 3? What's number 4? The rest of them. Just approve number 1 and reimburse the storm drain portion?
I think we would need to do a partial acceptance of the improvements. So one suggestion would be is if we could perhaps, since there's no issues with the underground utilities, maybe we accept the utilities and that would allow for the, or it could just be the storm drain as well. And that way that would allow number 1 to continue. And then we would go back with the developer to resolve the concerns related to the street pavement and other public
Fred,
improvements.
would that be okay? Would that work?
Yes, I was going to say exactly that. The storm drain diff reimbursement is tied to the acceptance of the actual storm drain facilities, so that.
And there's no problems with that, we know, right?
As far as we know, the storm drain is working fine.
Okay.
Yeah.
Then I would encourage us to accept and approve item number 1 and then send the rest back to staff to work with the developer.
So if we did this, would the developer still work with us since technically they've gotten all their money?
No, they haven't. They haven't gotten their bond. We're not
Right, the
releasing
bonds would still be in place, so we wouldn't release the bonds, the performance bond.
Okay.
It's not a public hearing, but if you want to add something quickly,
Mayor, the developer.
you have to come to the microphone.
At the street, and I just think it's very unfair for the residents have to come home after a hard day work and look at the street. And I said, wow, it's not right. It's very wrong. And I look at them houses are very expensive. And then another thing, I said, okay, well, I'm pretty sure that they driving, so what happened, it'll cause damage to their cars and everything. So I hope y'all get it together. Yes, I do.
Thanks. Yes, sir.
Thanks for the comments and the suggestion. Appreciate that. It's tough to hear those comments, I got to be honest with you. Meritage Homes prides themselves on quality.
Ephraim, it has been hard on us this whole time because the residents have been very unhappy for a number of reasons. So you may pride yourself on quality, but somehow the quality didn't get into this development.
So if I may, I've been around Meritage I just had my 4-year anniversary here. There's been a lot of changeover in our Southern California division, and it's hard to tell what happened previously. Again, we're one of the leading divisions in Meritage Homes at this point, and we provide quality to our home buyers and our homeowners. We're a leader in customer service Avid scores. We're at the top of the country for the past 3 or 4 years in customer service.
Something happened here because it's not applying to this development.
Understood, and I appreciate the comments, and I'll take it back to our management. We have been trying to alleviate the items out there and fix the items out there, and I think we've successfully did so. With respect to the mailboxes, I just want to interject something on that. Typically, our experience with the post office is that they like to see the mailboxes all in one location because they like to go to one location and then move on. And I'll just leave it at that. I don't know what the back and forth between the city and the post office has been to separate. But anyway, that's why we would have put them all in one spot because that's what the post office would have required of us. I appreciate your suggestion. I feel like we even met with a homeowner out there about the curb and gutter and came to a good solution there as well. So that worked out nicely. And I think he's happy at this point, is from what I hear. I haven't heard about any other homeowners out there that have had issues unless they're making direct customer service inquiries to our customer service team. I haven't heard about anything beyond the items that I've been talking to with city staff.
Or unless they're tired of complaining it and having it fall on deaf ears.
Yeah.
And then they stop talking.
I would suggest that you perhaps speak to Karen Comstock because she has the ear of all the homeowners there, plus her being one, and find out directly from someone who's hearing the complaints.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Again, I just wanted to kind of, defend our honor to a certain degree because I think we do put a good product out there, and I'm glad that there have been no other issues in other communities that we've developed within the city. I think the utilities and the functionality of the roadways out there, it's there, they function correctly. And I think the $136,000 that we submitted to the city is over and above beyond what it would actually cost to grind an overlay and do the slurry seal. So I guess depending on what the decision is made tonight, if if we go back to conversing with city staff on how to actually fix it, I guess I would ask for the check back of the $136,000. And I suppose I'll leave it at that. Thank you.
Okay, can we have a motion and a second to approve number 1? Yes, no?
This is just for the acceptance of the storm drain fund.
Just the storm drain.
Just as
Yeah,
number 1.
just the storm drain. It's not showing up. It's still on the timer. Nope.
And I assume the balance of the motion is to direct staff to work with the developer on the outstanding road issues.
Okay, it's not working. So we have a motion from Councilman Lucio, second from Councilman Burton. We'll do a verbal roll call.
Councilmember Lucio?
Yes.
Councilmember Flores?
No.
Councilmember Burton?
Yes.
Mayor Ulloa?
Yes. Okay, so it does pass 3 yes, 1 no, 1 abstention to reimburse the storm drain only and direct staff to work further with the developer to clear up the issues that are outstanding. Okay. Next item on the agenda is mayor and council reports. I'll go through mine very quickly. Wednesday, March 6th, I attended the Omnitrans and SPCTA Board of Directors meetings and then attended a Water Facilities Authority Personnel Committee meeting. Thursday, the 7th, I attended Chino de Saltra Authority Board of Directors, Inland Empire Utility Agency Sewerage Policy Committee, and then along with council members Flores and Burton, attended the police department's awards ceremony, which, by the way, turned out fabulous like always, and it was record attendance. It's always so nice to hear the special efforts of our PD and dispatchers and the other personnel in the police department. We're just so blessed. We have such a great department. Friday, March 8th, met with a local business owner regarding code and building issues. Saturday, March 19th, along with council members Burton, Flores, and Lucio, attended the National Little League and Chino American Little League opening day ceremonies, which is always a lot of fun to see the little kids. Tuesday, March 12th, I attended my weekly meeting with our city manager, and then along with council members, attended the Chino Economic Development Update, Trends, Tools, and Opportunities workshop. Wednesday, March 13th, I attended the Mayor's Prayer Breakfast and the Agricultural Preservation Meeting. Thursday, March 14th, Omnitrans Administration and Finance Committee meeting, SBCTA Transit Committee, SBCTA Metro Valley Committee meeting. And then attended a Tipacop fundraiser at Canatero's restaurant. You know, I can't imagine an unsuspecting member of the public coming to Canatero's to eat dinner and then having these officers all in their whole rig, guns and everything, waiting on tables. That had to have been an interesting experience for people that didn't know what was going on. But it was a lot of fun. And I don't think anybody messed up an order that I know of. You'll fill us in, right? They're prepped. That was fun. That was a lot of fun. And I hope they got a lot of tips. Good. Let's see. Saturday, March 16th, I attended the second annual Chino Days event. The band was Young Guns, and it was really good. It did sprinkle, and it was a bit cool, but the crowd was nice, and I have to tattle on my husband a little bit. He had his classic car out there. Well, it started sprinkling a little bit, and Bob had a pop-up in the car. He hurries up and gets the pop out, has everybody help set it up, and I'm thinking, oh, we're gonna sit underneath it? No, I put it over his car. And then he gets out the towels and wipes it all down, you know, God forbid the car get wet.
And by the way, Mayor, he didn't recruit us. He told us. You guys
Yes,
grabbed
he
me.
did.
So
He told you, grab that leg and set this up. Yeah, he did. He's He's pretty good at giving out orders, especially when it comes to his car. And then Sunday, I attended it as well, and the band, Sunday was Flux Capacitators, which was also good. The weather was absolutely phenomenal Sunday. Even a bigger crowd. It was really fun. My daughter and her husband and their kids came, and some of their Little League players came with them, and they were so excited they got to go see a cow and pet it. Oh, my gosh. So, Chino, we always offer something different. Yesterday, I met with 2 representatives from the Amadea community to discuss their involvement in our community. And last night, I attended Boy Scout Troop 201 Court of Honor. They honored Mr. Christian Lee. He was a Scout Master from 2005 to 12/31/2023. Mrs. Patricia Cox was a committee chair from 2010 to the end of 2023. And Mr. John Anderson, he is the oldest living Eagle Scout, having achieved the rank in 1952. He first joined Boy Scouts in 1945, meaning that he's been associated with Boy Scouts for almost 80 years. I would really like to invite the 3 of them to the next council meeting and honor their years of service. The boys themselves got up and gave testimony to the impact that they've had on their lives, and it's really heartwarming. I mean, they've really helped these kids a great deal in, setting their paths for the rest of their lives and just being a wonderful influence on these young men. It was amazing. And then we had closed session this evening before our council meeting. So, Mayor Pro Tem Comstock.
On March 12th, I attended the City Council workshop regarding economic development with the rest of the council here tonight and the team. And then on Wednesday, March 13th, I participated in the State of the City filming. And then later that day, I attended the fire board meeting with the chief there and his team at the district headquarters. And Chief, I enjoy those meetings. There's actually some members of the fire board here tonight, so we just value the public safety component we share here between you and the fire department, the police department. Let me see here. On Thursday, March 14th, I attended a meeting with a local storage business regarding the development of a new building directly south of them regarding concerns of damage being caused from this construction to their business, essentially with the water flow runoff that's undermining part of their parking lot. And then later that same day, I also attended the Tip of Cop event held in conjunction with the Chino Police Officers Foundation and Canateros. Julie Canatero and her team do a great job over there. They are a very generous restaurant in giving back to our community, plus the food is good. And of course, all the proceeds there went to a very charitable operation in our community called the Neighborhood House. And there's a lot of people that volunteer at the Neighborhood House, but certainly Kevin Cisneros and his team and everybody over there at the Neighborhood House. So I was very happy to see that be a successful event. And Chief, thank you for your leadership in that, and just continuing to lead the way for our members of the police department to stay involved in our community. Also, Chief, I'm sorry to miss your award ceremony. That's always a great night. It's always good, particularly as a new chief of police, to hear you have a great turnout, a lot of support. I was actually out in Indian Wells with my family enjoying some of the professional tennis out there. Mayor, on Saturday, March 16th, I rode my bike here to City Hall to participate in Chino Days. It was a good day. It was cold, especially on my bike. But despite some of the weather, I mean, the vendors, everybody was happy to be here, and there was a lot of happy people to be here to see Young Guns. I was told on the next day on the next day that it was on the 17th, that it was a little warmer, a little bit better turnout, but I stayed home and made corned beef cabbage and corned beef and cabbage with my parents and played cards. So on Monday, March 18th, I attended my one-on-one with the city manager and staff, and also a meeting with a local resident regarding the design of many of our railroad crossings and development construction concerns throughout the city. He came in to talk with staff, and I want to thank Hajan and Warren and the city manager for being so patient with him and listening to his concerns, which I think staff did a good job in acknowledging them and owning them and committing to helping resolve those moving forward. So thank you to our staff. And then last night, I also attended the Boy Scout Troop 201 Court of Honor, Mayor. That was a very nice event. I've known Mr. Anderson for a long time. I'm not as familiar with Mr. Lee, but how nice for them also to honor Mrs. Cox for their service to the Boy Scouts of America. Just as a community, we can see the good work that the BSA does in our community. You saw the Boy Scouts here tonight. It's a good foundation for those young men that are involved in that program to teach them not just nationalism and patriotism, but just a sense of being a steward of the good democracy, Mayor. And it's always good to see that character development. And also, a lot of people don't know that the Boy Scouts of America have larger chapters in what's called Learning for Life. I was a member of Boy Scout Post 211 at the Chino Police Department, which I believe was chartered in 1969. Part of their Learning for Life program, I know the chief has one over there, and their fire exploring program. Those are all extensions of the Boy Scouts of America, in which they call their Learning for Life. And those are opportunities for young men and women to become involved in different career aspects. And Mary, you mentioned it with the Sea Cadets, with your grandson. It exists in several different fields. So if that's something you're interested in, I encourage you to look into it. It steered me in the right direction and ultimately to my career. And a couple of last things, Mayor. It's so fun to see these young kids as budding young artists and writers in our community. Very nice to see all those kids there today and the awards, the art awards winners. So thank you to our staff and everybody who brought that forward. And then last, Mayor, I've gotten rumor that James Jenkins, who's been the director of our airport down at Chino Airport, is retiring. So he's just done a really good job down there for us. He's been a good liaison when we've had to work with him in issues involving public safety or response to the airport. He's served our community so well in that capacity and been so helpful to us. I'd just like ask for the council's consideration and maybe doing something nice to acknowledge him and his retirement and his service to our community.
That would be nice. Let's bring him to one of the meetings.
Okay, thank you, Mayor, and that concludes my report.
You know, you're right about opportunities with the Boy Scouts. I mean, these kids are exposed to different kinds of occupations, and like with my grandson, he just didn't know what he wanted to do, and after he's almost got his Eagle Scout award, but then he joined Sea Scouts also, which is another arm of Boy Scouts, and absolutely fell in love with the sea and sailing, and now he wants to join the Coast Guard when he graduates from high school, and he wants to be a harbor master after that. So it really opened up a career path for him. So, and plus it teaches him such responsibility.
It is, Mayor, and I just think, in addition to serving the boys and developing them that way, we can't overlook the just countless hours of commitment from parents and staff to help them that goes into mentoring those young men and women. So thank you to everybody that's involved in those programs.
Councilman Burton.
Thank you, Mayor. On the 7th, I attended the Chino Police Department Awards ceremony down at the Plains of Fame, and I'd also like to commend Chief Metzen for putting on an outstanding presentation down there, Chief. But I mean, you've got to be so proud of the men and women of the police department. I was sitting next to the mayor, and the awards would come up, and the circumstances in a revolving in why they're getting the award. The mayor and I would just look at each other, and I was involved for over 30 years there, so I have a pretty good idea. But even still, I was beside myself. The good work that goes on within our police department, you should be very, very proud. So congratulations on a great presentation down there. On the 9th, I also attended the Chino National Little League opening, as well as the Chino American Little League opening. The 11th, my weekly meeting with the city manager. The 12th, I attended the council workshop on economic development. The 13th, I attended the State of the City filming. And the 14th, I also attended the Tip-A-Cop, which was the fundraiser for the neighborhood house at Canateros with my family. Just a great time. The place was packed. I had to wait at least 30 minutes before I could get a seat.
Should have gotten there at 5.
Well, I think we got there at 7, but there was quite a line outside. But it was a great turnout, and I think it's just a great fundraising effort. It's a great organization, the Neighborhood House, and I'm glad that the police department was able to partnership with them in order to raise some funds for that organization. On the 16th and 17th, this last weekend, I also attended Chino Days, and I appreciated everything that was going on out there, especially the country band and the barbecue. Young Guns was really awesome. The barbecue tasted great. I walked around the barbecue. You could smell the barbecue going on. It just really gave you a really a down-home feel, and that's kind of what we're known for anyway, and I just really appreciated it.
Did you pet the cow?
No, I didn't pet the cow.
It was girding or something. Yeah.
On the 18th, I attended my weekly meeting with the city manager, and then today, closed session before our council meeting. I also wanted to thank Luann Arredondo and her kids for the book. What just a neat lady. She goes by Grandma Lou, just for everybody's reference. She has I think it's a preschool in town that she runs, daycare, but she does a tremendous job with those kids. And I met them at the community garden where I read to them during the summer. I think it was probably about 110 degrees out there, but those kids weren't fazed by the heat at all. And just a very, very neat lady, and I appreciated her coming in with the book. So thank you very much. And Mayor, that concludes my report.
Okay, Councilman Flores.
Thank you, Mayor.
You do know that Kurt's turning a year older and wiser this year, and this month, right? I'm sorry.
Yes.
Not this year, but this month, so.
This month, yes.
Happy birthday, Kurt.
He gets embarrassed. Councilman Flores.
Happy birthday, Kurt. On the 6th of March, I attended I was over at God's Pantry with some of the members of the chamber and some members of Isaiah's Rock, and it was just a great, just experiencing what they have going on over there. That day, Sandy Graham, the director of memberships from the Chamber of Commerce, that was also her last day, and there was a big celebration for her. So I just want to give her a shout out. She's done a great job in terms of membership for our Chamber of Commerce. On the 7th of March, I attended the Chino Police Department's award ceremony, and I did have to leave early, but I was excused by the chief, so it's okay. On the 9th of March, I attended the National and American Little League opening ceremonies. That was always fun. Especially my favorite is when the parents do the Parents Pledge. It always gets the crowd going. On the 12th of March, I attended a special needs collaboration planning meeting with our staff and some nonprofits in town. So that's coming towards the end of the year. I'm really excited about that and the work that our staff is doing. That same day, I attended the council workshop meeting in terms of economic development. I shared this with our staff, but one issue that one of the residents brought up is, she asked if our staff can look into the disposable income, and I got into some details with our staff, and I know we've reached out to that resident, but just something to keep in our back pocket, in terms of going through economic development. On the 13th of March, I attended I had the State of the City filming with Ariana. This is probably the best I've ever done. I usually give them a hard time. I take a long time, but it went pretty quick that day. On the 15th, I met with a resident here in the downtown area. On the 16th and 17th, with the rest of the council, I attended Chino Days. And one thing the mayor didn't mention is Bob even told my friend Nellie to grab a corner. And Nellie, if you guys don't know, is my dog. And I've never seen my dog get up on her hinds and, move that tent, but she did.
That's not true.
Let's see. On the 18th of March, I, along with the mayor and Mayor Pro Tem, attended the Boy Scouts Troop 201 Court of Honor, and I've never, ever seen a potluck that big. That was pretty amazing.
Chris was in heaven.
I was.
If you knew how he eats.
Last two things, just want to say for anyone who's listening, we especially invite you out to the Don Lugo Golf Tournament. I know they got a good crew out there, and they're trying to do different things with the sports boosters over there. So I invite all of you to attend. And the last thing I want to mention, and I should have mentioned it when the time was more appropriate, but the developer asked for the $136,000 check back. So when we give that back, I hope we come back with a bigger check. So that's my prayer for our staff to work on. And well, I hope we do when we get a bigger one, Mayor. But that concludes my comments. Thank you.
Okay, Councilman Lucio.
Yes, on the 9th, I attended the Chino National Little League as well as the Chino American Little League. On the 12th, I attended the council workshop. I also attended an overview for city council members and I guess city managers. It's a 4-hour class on water and wastewater utilities. On the 13th and 14th, I attended a 16-hour class on disaster management for water and wastewater utilities, just what our roles and responsibilities are in case our water systems go down or get contaminated or for some reasons stop functioning, what we should be doing and how we should be looking and assessing this type of emergency. On the 14th, I attended the Tippecop event for the neighborhood house. And on the 19th, I attended a meeting with the city manager. And also later on today, I attended a meeting with Ben Cardenas from Cabrera Capital. I did miss the Chino days, but it was my son Lucas's birthday. It was his 4th birthday, so we were at Disneyland celebrating his birthday. So I was at the second happiest place on earth, other than Chino days. But with that, that's all I have, and thank you.
Okay. City Manager Reich.
Thank you, Mayor. I'd like to first start by thanking the CSPR, it's difficult to say, Community Services Parks and Rec Department for planning our second Chino Days, which was fabulous. So they added a few things this year. It's much better. We had a large police contingency out there, which we always appreciate. But mostly I'd like to thank our Public Works crew who spent all week getting ready for the event, and then the winds came and knocked down all the trees and the leaves, and I'm sure they were out there cleaning it up again, but they're also out there. So when we do a big, large event like this, it's a team effort. All of our departments are involved in this, and it really makes for a great community event, so I want to thank them for that. And I think that's it for tonight. Thanks, Mayor.
Karen?
Dr. Reich, is there any possibility, I know when we go to do the tree bidding, that there's different levels by which we can trim the trees annually? Maybe it's time, because we know we're getting the wind more frequently, we consider trimming the trees a little bit more aggressively so that.
Aggressively or
so that
frequently?
there's- Yeah, or frequently, so that we don't, because if we would trim them more frequently or aggressively, then hopefully those guys wouldn't have to come up and clean up as much of the debris. Just something for staff to consider.
We'll talk about that. Thank you.
And then I was going to ask you, Linda, could you talk a little bit about the ball and brunch that's happening at the Preserve Community Center this Saturday?
I would love to talk about the ball and brunch.
She
It's
doesn't
coming
know
up
about it.
this Saturday at the Preserve. Maybe Sylvia would be probably a better person to talk about that for us. But it is a good event. We've been doing it for quite some time now. Are you looking up the dates and times there?
Put her on the spot. Oh, she doesn't know it. Jackie, did you have something? No?
Well, in the meantime, can I ask a question?
Ask me another question that
Perfect.
I have.
I want to talk about our street signs. How did we
Yes.
do over the weekend? And, are there any left? What's the status on that?
Fabulous,
Good.
I will say. And I hope they get this number right. They sold 702 signs for about $45,000. Signs are still available on sale at the NAC. We have quite a few left. We're putting that information out, so spread the
Good.
word. We have more signs. And it was fun to see people walking around with their signs at Chino Days, because that was, when we opened, first thing in the morning, we had a line around the NAC, people wanting to get their signs. I went in there later in the afternoon on Saturday, and there were still a lot of signs in there. So our city's very big. We have lots of signs. So if any of our community members missed it, travel over to the NAC. We still have
The
opportunity.
nice thing is several people, we did it, my son did, several people bought signs for other people.
Mm.
Yeah, I did too. As gifts, which was nice.
I've got a couple of And
Sylvia, did you find
so
anything yet?
You said they're at the NAC right now, so how does a resident come and, look at, the display that was displayed over the weekend?
Yeah, I believe we still have it up over at the NAC, so they can feel free to come over to the NAC. The hours are 9 a.m. to 8 p.m., I believe. And I don't know the number in my head, but certainly you can call my number, which is 909-334-3491, and I can certainly direct any resident to
Linda, tell them what the NAC is in case people.
Neighborhood Activity Center, right at the corner of 6th and D Street.
Okay, she found some.
Sorry about that. Just, once again, thank you for the support for this weekend. And like Linda mentioned, it is a well-rounded team approach to make sure that the event goes well. So the Chino's Preserve Community Center will be holding their ball and brunch, which is a customer appreciation event that we usually host every year. It's from 9 to 11 on Saturday at the Preserve. It is registration, so if you could contact the 909 number, 334-3261. And also you could visit our website, cityofchino.org, for additional information for this weekend.
Okay, thank you. City City Attorney Galante.
No report, thanks, Mayor.
Chili, oh my gosh. Chili police. Kevin.
Well, thank you, council, for the support for just all year, but obviously the awards ceremony is probably one of our best nights of the year. We used to rotate them, where we would do an evening one that was non-mandatory, a morning one that was mandatory. We would take a department photo at the end of it. Well, now with technology, we take individual photos and they put it all together and it looks like one big team photo, so we no longer need to do a morning one. So we've moved them all to nighttime award ceremonies, and the turnout is through the roof. Is the most we've ever had. It's great to have the families to be able to come, and that's what we get in the evening time. So thank you for your support, and yes, I am beyond proud of the work that the men and women at the Chino Police Department do. And just that awards, I mean, there's so much more that they do that we don't even know about, the command doesn't even know about. Those are the ones that obviously we do. So we're already in the planning stages for 2024. So it's a lot of work that the committee puts in to do that. And then the Caneteros event, thank you for the support of that. I mean, it was a 45-minute wait. It was great, and we're already looking to do that at another location for another fundraiser for another nonprofit. So really, really exciting. And then just lastly, I'd like to wish our contingency, our Baker to Vegas team that will be going out to Baker to Vegas. Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem Comstock, Councilmember Burton. They are both support vehicle drivers through this. I think Councilman Burton has legs 1 through 5. Mayor Pro Tem, I think you have
11 through 15.
11 through 15. So this is a great event, great opportunity for our people to get together. It's the 20 runners on top of just a ton of help that's needed to make this happen. So
I think they should run a little bit.
it's a little. So Mayor Pro Tem has done it. So
I've done it. I have also done it.
Have you ran it?
I've ran it.
Okay.
Back in 1986.
Mayor Pro Tem has ran it. So we are optimistic that we will bring back a mug, and I would love to be able to, when we do that, is to bring the team here to recognize them at the beginning of a council meeting. So.
But I think you should get them out of the car at least for a little bit.
So I haven't done the driver. I've done the alternate, and riding in that car for 5 stages is. So I'm also 6 hours. I'm also driving as a support driver. So this will be the first time, and it's kind of brutal. Yeah, it is. So.
See you in Vegas, Chief.
Yeah, thanks. That concludes my report unless you have any questions.
Thank you. Chief Williams.
Good evening. Just a couple of things. First, I'd like to just say thank you very much to Mayor Pro Tem Comstock for your kind words and support for the extension of my contract. So if you're not aware, I'll be here for another several years. So you got about 3 more years to try to get me out of the ring, but I can keep trying. That
It was an article in his contract, Chris, in the amendment they had written it.
Oh, you don't think I knew about that?
Not really.
So I say that, you know, I wanted to do this career for a long time, and I can't imagine ever being in a position to be able to support this community. It's a lifelong dream for me, and you get 3 more years of commitment, and we'll see beyond that. But I love this community, and I'll, you know, as I've demonstrated time and time again, I'll do what I can to support it. And then I just wanted the council to know that today I did attend an event out in San Bernardino, and it's our new dispatch center. If you're not aware, they're going to be building a new center out there in conjunction with the sheriff's dispatch be co-located in the same building. It's going to be a high-rise building, state-of-the-art. meet all the earthquake requirements for building shifting, and it's going to be a really nice facility. So we're looking forward to that. We're being told about 590-day build. Seems pretty aggressive to me, but today was the groundbreaking, and we look forward to being able to bring that extra level of commitment and technology back to the community.
Good. Glad you're staying around.
Congratulations, Chief.
And Chief, if I can just add, our boys over and the girls over at the boxing banquet, and they really enjoyed your speech that day. So thank you for coming out and being the keynote speaker that day. It does make an impact. That's for sure.
You're very welcome. Thank you.
Didn't you mention
how
that
did
they
your,
also wanted to see him demonstrate?
Well, I was going to add that after the meeting.
Hey, Chief, how did your St. Patty Day event go?
Wonderful. Yeah, it was a great time. So we had two events over the last week. If you weren't familiar with our Brew Fest, which was the first one, my understanding is those events are really spurred on by the very first event you had, which we had one about 3 years ago, and then COVID hit. I think we ended up with about 550 people attend the event. There was 15 breweries. That's the thing that becomes a challenge. Sometimes the breweries back out last minute, but they're committed to us, and it showed itself, and it was a great event for the community. 2 weeks later, we had our St. Patty's Day Pipes and Drums, which was on St. Patty's Day, do a circuit on Sunday, so they played over at Roscoe's, and then they ended their set over at Luchador. So thank you very much. Thank you for bringing it up. Thank you very much to our Pipes and Drums, the commitment those folks do that at off-duty on their own, and it really just highlights our organization to the next level. So thank you for bringing that up, and thank you for being there at the first one I saw, at least.
Kiddo, anything else? All right, with that, we will adjourn to our regular meeting on Tuesday, April 2nd at 6 o'clock with closed session no earlier than 4 if needed. With that, we are adjourned.